All right, welcome back to Home Track Heroes. We are just about ready to start the Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure 8s. We have a very exciting race out here with, it looks like about 12 cars, so it should be pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's always a very fun class. We got a few females here, Jessica Wilkinson, Mackenzie Dietz. They always put on a great show out there. It's just all around fun class, and it's been pretty much a staple of Evergreen Speedway for many years.
And you have a fun father-son combo. You have Steve Cox, who's been a great racer out here at Evergreen Speedway for a number of years, and you have his son Dawson Cox racing tonight too, so that should be pretty exciting to see father and son.
Yeah, and they're not driving the cars that they own either, so that's going to make it more exciting because they don't have to fix it when they go home. They can just go home and tear whatever they want up. As we look at the field right here, we got the 55 JE of Jessica Wilkinson, and she needs sponsors. So if you're looking to sponsor a race car, go reach out to the 55 JE. And to her outside, we got the 72 of Jeff Talbert, sponsored by Pilchuck Heating.
Brought to you by Rich's Car Corner. We have the 007 of Jim Powers. To the outside of Jim is the 36 car of Brian Cottrell.
And in the next row, we got the 21 of Merlin Cook, and a great-looking machine right there you see on screen. And to his outside, the 58 of Chuck Wittes.
Next row back, you have the 01 of Doug Delfell. Great racer out here. To the outside of Doug is the 11, brought to you by Masters of Crete, the 11 car of Keith Cook.
And in the next row, we got the 64 of Eric Allison, sponsored by Rosella Art Gallery in Snohomish. And his outside, the young Dawson Cox in the 13.
Brought to you by BECU is the 67 of Mackenzie Dietz in the next row back. On the outside of Mackenzie is brought to you by Mrs. Turner's Hometown Cafe in Puyallup, the 17 of Quentin Borison.
And in the final row, we got the 32 of Steve Cox as the green flag is out. And oh no, early trouble for your leader. That's Jessica Wilkinson getting turned around. Doug Delfell, Eric Allison, Mackenzie Dietz, and Steve Cox all involved, as that is not the way you want to start the Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure 8 main event. As we're going to take a couple replays and see what went wrong here. It looks like maybe Talbot got a little bit of a bump from Cottrell, and maybe Wilkinson came down a little bit, and it just got too tight going there. We talked about that being a funnel for the Hornets. Now it's a funnel for the Superstock Figure 8s.
Yeah, absolutely. And you see here, watch the 007 of Jim Powers there starting to the outside in the second row, able to get through cleanly, and a great move there by Jim Powers in the 007 car. But yeah, definitely not what you want to see right as you go green flag racing.
Yeah, and watch the 21 of Merlin Cook. He finds a hole and just barely squeaks through that Uke tire, and Jessica Wilkinson is able to get through without, I don't think, any damage to that 21 car. As we're going to go on board with Jessica Wilkinson, and she goes in the corner and just whoop and says hi to the rest of the field as they come by, or give a little love tap too. That's not how you want to start the main event at all.
Yeah, definitely not. What a cool view to see that, but definitely not something that Jessica Wilkinson wanted to be known for early on in this race with that great pole position.
Not at all. And we got a really unique view. We got front and rear facing cameras for Mackenzie Dietz, and she really got beat around trying to get through that accident. As we're going to bring it back to the booth, and this segment I want to let you know is sponsored by Buzzin Steakhouse. Buzzin Steakhouse served hand-cut Angus steaks and breakfast all day and mouth-watering burgers. Visit one of their 12 locations. Buzzin Steakhouse, sponsor of the Stinger 8 class, which the Stinger 8s, they put on a great show every time they show up in the intersection. But right now, we got the Superstock Figure 8s.
Yeah, it's very exciting to watch anybody go through the Figure 8s, I think, but especially these Superstocks brought to you by Monroe Grocery Outlet. It's just so fun to see the cars with that much power to be able to go through those intersections. And we always see a lot of action as people try and pass through without getting touched.
And these cars are very loud. Don't let that fool you. And the fans seem to respond to loud noises as we get them lined back up. As a few of the cars, they're in the pit area trying to get worked on, but we see Jessica Wilkinson now at the back of the pack. Your new front row looks to be the 72 of Talbot and the 007 of Jim Powers. As we see a few cars missing. It looks like Merlin Cook might not be in there. Possibly Chuck Wittes as well. So a few drivers. Hopefully they'll be able to get those cars fixed and get out here and turn some laps.
Yeah, it was kind of a bummer to see the 01 of Doug Delfell have to exit earlier on too, as you saw that they were part of that initial crash right off of the green start. But hoping Doug that's able to come back out and race, because it's been so much fun to watch him over the years.
Yeah, the Grizz for sure is a crowd favorite in that bright yellow 01. As the green flag is back out, we see Jim Powers in that 007 get a pretty good lead over Talbot, and there's Merlin Cook to the outside.
Yeah, and you see a great race so far, and you see a little bit of bump in there as they come around turn number 3 and out of turn number 4. Really interesting to watch, too, the 32 of Steve Cox. You saw him involved in that very early on accident with Jessica Wilkinson from the green flag. So we'll see as Steve is back to the back of the pack itself. We'll see if Steve is able to work his way up to the front. But Also, the 17 of Quentin Borison has been having a wonderful year so far too. So we'll watch that 17 blue car out there.
Yeah, you see that one-arm bandit working the wheel a lot as he bangs doors with Eric Allison as they try to get through the field. We see Brian Cottrell, Dawson Cox on the outside there trying to make his way through traffic, trying to find the opening in the C's and waiting for it to part, and it's not quite doing that for the 13 quite yet.
Yeah, and you see it seems like every time they come through the intersection out of the turns, it's like there's another gear in the 13 car they're able to try and speed ahead. But side by side with the one-arm bandit there, Quentin Borison, is a tough thing to get past. And there you see some action. We have the 36 car of Brian Cottrell, and it looks like the 72 also got into a little bit of issue there, Jeff Talbert. So Jeff still holding off there on the inside of the turn number 3, or turn number 2 there, actually.
Yeah, as you see Keith Cook, he's coming in and serving the penalty for turning the 72 around, as they are all actually battling for the second place, which has really allowed Jim Powers to check out. As there we see the Grizz, Doug Delfell, rejoining the field. He's going to be about 4 laps down, so tough break for the Grizz, but it's good to see him at least back out here turning some laps and going to entertain the crowd for sure.
Yeah, and you see what some of this early action has provided some opportunity. Now you see Jim Powers in the 007 car still in first, but now you see that 13 car of Dawson Cox in second, Quentin Borison in third in the 17, and so very, very exciting to see them kind of take the opportunity that's handed to them. And there's that 32 car, so kind of started towards the back of the pack. Actually, in the very back of the pack is the 32 of Steve Cox, now in fourth.
As we saw Mackenzie Dietz right there in the 67 BECU machine. She's back out on track after being involved in that lap 1 incident. But one thing that all these cars rejoining the field and cars getting spun out has done is made that intersection a whole lot more entertaining with all these cars spread out.
Yeah, as soon as you start to see some distance between first and last, there's so many more opportunities for a little bit of intersection action there, and I know a lot of the fans are excited to see that possibility, but for me, it's so exciting when you see that if they make the choice to either pause or if they're going to just pedal to the metal and go all the way through, so I think we're going to see a lot of that in this race tonight.
Yeah, and don't blink, because Dawson Cox is already in the lead. I'm not sure when that happened. I just looked up, and all of a sudden that 13 car is around the 007, so Dawson Cox, your new leader, with Jim Powers second, and Quentin Borison, the one-arm bandit, many-time champion here in the Superstock Figure 8 division, in third.
And Quentin Borison in the 17 car is just so good at knowing the lines to take and also the lines to block. We'll see this so much, and as he battles between him and the 32 of Steve Cox, Quentin Borison just does such a great job making sure that he doesn't allow people around him, especially if he's going single file.
Yeah, he's a very smart driver, and actually in practice today, him and Steve Cox were swapping around machines, testing each other's cars out, so those two very familiar with one another car, as we see Steve Cox get around the 17 as Quentin Borison continues to battle with Talbert.
Yeah, just as we got done talking about the blocking ability of Quentin Borison, you see Steve Cox and his experience as a racer out here at Evergreen Speedway able to go around and now in that third place spot. So now you have the 007 of Jim Powers in second, Eric Allison in third actually, and Steve Cox in the 32 car is in fourth, and still in that lead is the 13 car of Dawson Cox.
And a lot of bumping from the 64 and 32 as they continue to battle through. That's going to allow Quentin Borison to get right back up in the mixes. That was a lot of contact between the two drivers as we see them continue to go side by side, diving down as they go around the North Pole. A great battle. There's Talbert around right in front of the battle we were watching. Looks like he's going to be able to get that fired back up as we pick up with the battle between the 64 and 32.
Yeah, and I think as we're just approaching about the halfway point now, it's been so fun to watch Eric Allison in the 64 and Steve Cox in the 32. Here we see them battling as they come into turn number 3, but they just seem to keep on going back and forth and kind of switching spots and who's going to be in third place. But really fun to watch those two battle early on here.
Yeah, as Jim Powers hangs strong in the second position for now, but he's got a very hungry Eric Allison, Steve Cox, and Quentin Borison. As there goes Allison giving him a bump through the intersection. And still more contact between the 64 and 32. They can't be happy with each other.
No, and you see up ahead of them, it's going to be the 13 of Dawson Cox that's kind of now going back and forth with the 01 of Doug Delfell. And so we'll see if that any kind of traffic there for Dawson Cox is going to hold him up and allow either Jim Powers or Eric Allison to catch up.
As right as you say that, there goes Dawson Cox to the inside of Delfell. But the Grizz, he's not going away easy as we see the side skirt of Brian Cottrell's car. Well, it's actually Bill Fleischecker's car that Brian Cottrell is driving for him. As there goes Dawson Cox finally getting around Doug Delfell as the battle continues to rage on as there goes the 007 around off the bumper of Eric Allison. So tough break there for Jim Powers as he was going on to a career best finish. As there we see the 64, Eric Allison is, I'm not sure if Jim Powers had to check up for anything in the intersection or not, but tough break for him there.
You know, that's what I was kind of thinking, is maybe he was just putting on the brakes just a little bit to allow traffic to be able to go through. But Eric Allison definitely not anticipating that and giving him a little bit of bump, and that sent the 007 just a little bit wide there. So tough break for Jim Powers, as he said.
As there we see Dawson Cox now in heavy traffic, as there goes the 67 looping around. Mackenzie Dietz avoiding any sort of issues in the intersection, as a lot of lap traffic now between Eric Allison and Dawson Cox, your leader.
Yeah, so we'll see what Dawson Cox in that 13 car, and there's Doug Delfell still holding on and chasing, and you also see Jessica Wilkinson in the 55 JE still kind of hanging on right behind the 01, the yellow car there of Doug Delfell. So like you said, a lot of traffic and a lot of cars in between the 13 car and the 64 of Eric Allison, and now you see the 32 of Steve Cox looks like passed to the inside of the 64 of Allison there. So we'll see if that's going to put Steve Cox in a good position there for second.
Yeah, Steve Cox was able to nudge Allison out of the way enough, and that allowed Quentin Borison to follow his tire tracks through into the third position. So now the one-arm bandit needs to hang off maybe a pretty upset Eric Allison after he got moved out of the way, was second, and then after the corner he was in fourth, so he can't be too happy behind that 64 car.
Yeah, and on this time by, you see Dawson Cox with the lead, but you look and see there's 4 cars in between the 13 car and the 32 car of Steve Cox in second place, and now it looks like there's just 2, so we lost one in that last corner, but a lot of traffic, like you said, and I think that makes a big impact too, as the 32 car might be his son, but he's not giving him any easy ones, so he wants to catch up as much as he can to the 13.
Yeah, and it looks like there might be a little bit of damage on the 32 of Steve Cox, his hood flapping up a little bit. Maybe from some contact with the 64 machine when he moved him out of the way, or maybe some lap traffic contact. But you see that hood bouncing around. That's got to be kind of distracting as a driver for sure.
There you see the 007 of Jim Powers have to pull off to the side and allow traffic to go through the intersection. Great timing, though, for Dawson Cox as he's able to just speed on through and go around the 007 car, as they now have 6 laps remaining.
As we see body panels of all sorts flying around in the wind, as it's been a very eventful Superstock Figure 8 race for only 1 caution, too, and that came on the very first lap. But yeah, that would be very distracting as you're trying to look into the corner and all of a sudden your hood flaps up and you can't see anything.
Yeah, and this will be a fun one to watch too, between the 01 of Doug Delfell and the 32 of Steve Cox. A couple of veterans out here to be able to see what they can do, and I'm sure Steve wants to get around that 01 as bad as anybody.
Yeah, he may be a lap down, but it's still, knowing they're able to pass the Grizz does mean a lot, as we see quite the lead, almost half a corner. Oh no, Quentin Borison goes around. He's facing the wrong way. We'll see if he's able to get fired back up, and he does get out of harm's way, so we'll stay green with 4 laps to go. As there we see our leader, Dawson Cox. He still has almost a full straightaway through the intersection lead, maybe a little bit more over his dad, Steve Cox. Looks like Steve might be being held up by the 01 a little bit.
Yeah, definitely in a good battle there. And you see now the 17 of Quentin Borison's going to push the 13 car there of Dawson Cox to the outside and might go into his old blocking ways here as the 17 to see if Dawson, the youngster, is able to get around him. But that'll be pretty exciting as this time by. It's going to be 2 laps remaining in our Mineral Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure 8 main event.
Yeah, but another 3 times now through the intersection for your leader, Dawson Cox, which still means anything could go wrong. You see him hang the tail end out a little bit there of the 13 machine as Keith Cook almost making contact with him there. So he's by no means out of the woods yet.
And it looks like just on that last lap, you see now the 32 car of Steve Cox in front of the 01 of Doug Delfell. So he was able to get around the Grizz and be able to pass him through here, but might be a little bit too little too late, as this time around they're going to go through the intersection one more time on this final lap.
As Dawson Cox sneaks through Mackenzie Dietz and Keith Cook one last time, coming around the corner, checkered flag out for Dawson Cox, grabbing his 2nd win and his 2nd start in the Superstock Figure 8 division. As you see, Mackenzie Dietz got turned around there at the end, might have made contact with that tire as it looks out of place.
How cool is it? There we go. First of all, congratulations, Dawson.
Thank you. I don't really know what to say. Every time I tried to make a pass, the seas parted for me. It was awesome. I mean, I don't really know what happened. I mean, I've never got through traffic that good before, and everything was working for me, and we got out front, and we just checked out and drove every lap as hard as I could, and almost wrecked it with like 4 to go, and I was like, whoo, I better dial it back a little. But I really got to thank Bruce Bueller for letting me run the car. He called me yesterday at like 9 in the morning and he's like, hey, you want to run? And I'm like, well, obviously, I'll race anything. So huge thanks to Bruce Bueller and Black Trans Black Thunder Transport.
And what about this lady next to you?
What was that?
What about this lady next to you?
Oh, that's just my mom. Yep. So the first trophy I ever won was the day before Mother's Day, so it looks like I got her another Mother's Day gift.
What's up?
Welcome, fans.
Isn't this cool to see all this?
That's awesome. It's awesome to have everybody here.
Helps you out, don't it?
Oh, helps everybody. It's good for the heart.
And talk about who's helping you, because this is not a one-man show.
Oh, it's never a one-man show, right? But Tommy's done a good job on this car. I don't have to do hardly anything to it, so it makes it a pleasure to drive. So I can show off for you guys.
Eric Allison, good to have you here, man.
Thank you, thank you. It was a fun race, pretty rough, but glad I made it through.
And you are one of those guys that just keeps coming out, improving every week. Obviously, a lot of people helping you out.
I got Rosella Art Gallery, GN Northwest, the Hubbard family's kicking me some tires, and my boss came out tonight to help me out, Colin, and yeah, it was a good night.
And that was a very eventful Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure 8 main event with only one caution, too. That was the crazy part about it. But we're going to roll into our BECU mini stock division. And like I said at the beginning of the show, we've had 26 drivers go over points so far this year with still more cars to come. It's an awesome field.
Yeah, it's been so exciting to watch, and there's been so much competition at the very top of the BECU mini stock so far this year. You have people like Mike Jensen in the 521. You have Jimmy Absher. You have Cole Reardon. Colton Price has been really fun to watch. But for me, it's been such an exciting series to watch so far this season, and so many players and so many racers out there fighting for that top position.
Yeah, we got a few new faces tonight that we haven't seen this year. Michael Fritz, who was a staple of Evergreen Speedway mini stocks for a while, he's back tonight. We got Rod Helmuth back. I think it was Ackerman. Rick Ackerman Jr. is back. It's just a great field of mini stocks. It's cool seeing all these faces come back to their stomping grounds, and it's going to be a great show to say the least. As there we see the cars out on track right now, a full field of them. Starting in the front row, we got the 10 of Cameron Iverson, sponsored by Lane Sunholm, and his outside the 20 of Jason Wilson.
Next row back, we have the 29 of Dylan Bewald, brought to you by Puget Sound Auto Repair in Port Orchard. On the outside of Dylan is the 97 of Nat Barber, sponsored by Racers Against Child Abuse.
And in the next row, we got the 26 of Jimmy Absher, sponsored by the Taurus Group with Keller Williams. To his outside, the 521 of Mike Jensen.
Next row back is the 4 of Cole Reardon. On the outside of Cole is the 18 of Lane Sunholm, sponsored by Foss Motorsports.
And in the next row, we got the 14 of Colton Price. His outside, the 16 of Travis Woodward, sponsored by Simon & Sons Towing.
Next row is the 23 of Ellie Musgrave. On the outside of Ellie is the 7 of Cassidy Sunholm, sponsored by J2 Racing and John Haynes.
As the green flag is out, we'll get to the rest of the starting order here soon, as it is a madhouse of drivers going into turn number 1. Look at that, an absolute swarm of, it was at 10 cars going 3 wide down the back straightaway into turn number 3.
Yeah, you see the 97 of Nat Barber there just and looks like 5th place as they go kind of 2 and 3 wide down the backstretch. Really impressive to see. Also the 14 of Colton Price and the 521 of Mike Jensen. So really exciting to see that much action early on in this BECU mini stock main event.
Yeah, Cole Reardon is able to come out with the lead as we're 4 wide down the back straightaway. That's Lane Sunholm way to the outside, throwing sparks up. As looks like we got Michael Fritz taking the short route in. He's going to make contact with Travis Woodward and collect, that's Rick Ackerman Jr. into the wreck as well. So that was a crazy start. We had saw 3-4 wide almost all the way around the track, as that is some great racing from the BECU mini stocks. As we're going to take a look at some replays here. This is the turn 1 camera, 4 wide down the back straightaway. Wow.
Yeah, and you see how wide the 18 car of Lane Sunholm had to go. And then all of a sudden, this time by, you see the inside there as they come out of turn number 3, and a lot of traffic there as well. But, man, it's just so exciting to see these cars and how many cars we have out of here tonight. But you see action like that as Lane Sunholm just has sparks going out as he had to go down into the dirt and getting 4 wide there on the backstretch.
Yeah, and Michael Fritz, I think, checked up because he saw the sparks flying and got on the brakes maybe a little too hard, knocked the car sideways. As you look to the right side of your screen, you'll see him slide through the grass, make contact with Woodward, and collect Ackerman. Looks like Ackerman maybe not had too much damage as he backs it up and pulls away, but we got a really unique view right here as it's coming right into your living room. There goes Fritz, and boink, right into the camera, sends it flying, as we will be right back cleaning up the mess for the conclusion of your BECU mini stock main event.